For you to understand the weight of this story, I need to give you a little background. My whole life, I've been surrounded by grief and constant battles. My parents split when I was 9, and in so doing, there was someone who was brought into my life that was the core of the mental abuse that I endured. It really shocks me that I was able to grow up to be the man that I am today, and some would argue that because of that, I was able to grow up strong, and I've learned to agree with that. Paranormal occurrences were a consistent thing for my mom, which one day, hopefully, I will be able to share with her permission. She dabbled into things she shouldn't have, and after talking with my older brother Eric, we agree that something has followed us, especially him, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. When I was about 6 years old, I lived in a smaller house that I identify with my childhood. As much as I can remember, it was a happy and peaceful place to live. I found out recently that wasn't the case for a solid week. The upstairs was small. You would walk up to the second floor and there was a bathroom immediately to your right, and my room was diagonal from that, and further down the hall to the right was my brother's room, and across from his room was my parents' room, and that's where the hallway ended. Eric was 14 at the time, and he never once was scared to go to bed. In fact, he was raised on scary movies and he was desensitized to it all. So it was a shock when he was screaming for mom and dad super late one night. From his perspective of the story, he said that he was laying in bed and saw shadows on the wall. Behind his bed was a window, and occasionally, like any other person, he would see leaves casting their shadows on the wall. As he was drifting off, he noticed something that didn't belong. He said it was moving with the trees, which at first it didn't startle him, but it suddenly just stopped moving. The longer he stared, he realized it was a face. It had horns, and it wasn't snarling or growling. It was just staring. He kept trying to make it go away, but it never left that spot. And as I said, he screamed for help, and my parents barged into the room worried as hell as to what was happening, and all he could say was, "It's right there. Mom, I can see it. It's right there." Of course, they investigated. My dad suggested to do so while the lights were off to try and see what he was seeing, and after no luck, they turned the lights on, and my mom asked if he could still see it. He said yes. He went as far as to outline the face on the wall with crayon, and it was so detailed that my parents realized that this had to be real. For a week, it kept happening, and then suddenly it just stopped. Now, I've never told anybody this, and I avoided doing so because it's such a crazy occurrence that I thought I just had a nightmare, and I know now that that wasn't the case. Around the same time that my brother was seeing the demon in the wall, I saw something too. I was laying in bed one night and I woke up randomly. I don't know whether I woke up because of this or if it was just random, but nevertheless, I was awake. I looked over at my toy chest, and it was wooden and had blocks all over it. I never put them away because I always played with them, and after that night, I never did again. As I scanned the room, I saw my blocks. It was dark, but I could make out what was in the room. Out of nowhere, they started to float, and they formed only what I can call a deformed shadow of a hunched monkey that was completely unproportional. Its shoulder was slanted, and I couldn't see the head, maybe because its head was facing the floor. I don't know, but it was terrifying. As soon as it formed, it stayed completely still until I blinked, and then it was closer. I thought it was my imagination, so I kept blinking. It kept getting closer. I got so scared that when it was a few feet away from me, I covered my head with my blankets and somehow I fell asleep. It never happened again. Recently, I heard my brother's story and it froze me in fear because if we both experienced the same thing at the same time, I feel like they had to be connected. Both used objects in the house or the house to manifest themselves. I don't know what it all means or if anything, but if anyone has any information on what it was or what it could be, please, I really want some insight. I've never seen anything since, and I really hope I never do again.